Welcome to the Final Girls podcast, where we would also, given the chance, body swap with a 6'5" middle-aged man. I'm Anna Bogutska, co-founder of the Final Girls Collective and your podcast host. If you're new to the show, welcome. I know I've said this several times over the last couple of episodes, but we've only got 2 more episodes to go in our teen horror season. The 4th season of the podcast, where we've been exploring teen horror movies in depth, really stretching the definition of what makes a teen horror film, basically exploring the teen canon, and wondering and talking about why teenagers, and especially teenage girls, make some of the most compelling protagonists of the genre. With only 2 episodes to go, we are going to dedicate them to some of the most talked about teen horror properties that have come out in the last couple of years. And a quick reminder, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at TheFinalGirlsUK, and as proper millennials, we also have a Patreon where you can support us if you want to at patreon.com/TheFinalGirls. Some exciting content coming out this summer, which I'll be posting about on the Patreon. So on this penultimate episode of the Teen Horror Show, I am joined by the fantastic and reliably hilarious Becky Dark to discuss one of the most talked about and most entertaining teen horror films that made a little bit of a splash, was one of the most buzzy titles of the last couple of years. I'm talking, of course, about the body swap teen horror comedy Freaky, starring Kathryn Newton and Vince Vaughn. Be warned, there are some absolutely batshit digressions in this episode, but if you're anything like me, more Becky is more fun, so I kept them in. I hope you enjoy those, and as per usual, please note that we spoil everything from the very beginning. If you hadn't seen Freaky and you're very touchy about spoilers, then perhaps give it a watch before you listen to this episode. After a couple of really heavy episodes, I feel like this was a good bomb of an episode to start wrapping up our teen horror season on. And with all that said, please enjoy our take on Freaky. So, Becky, you've got the dubious honor of being a part of the penultimate episode of this teen horror season that we were chatting just before we hit record. I'm like, at this point on the penultimate episode, I am ready to murder all the fucking kids.
So many teens, Anna. So many.
Dead. All of them are dead in my book.
I love the idea of you doing kind of like brain dead, like they're all coming towards you. You've just got a lawnmower or something like hitched high, and they're just running into the lawnmower, and you are screaming hysterically, covered in blood, all of it from teens.
I think that might be a good teen horror movie, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like a millennial just mowing down a whole bunch of Gen Z TikTokers.
Yeah.
Screaming,
Yes.
Bring back Vine.
Would watch.
Maybe I'm just sharing my dreams. This is all in
Yeah.
my dream journal right now. Just dreaming of TikToks and murdering teenagers.
Do not analyze this.
Absolutely not. No, definitely. For any therapist listening, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I don't want to hear from you. It's fine. Just keep it to yourself. I don't need to analyze it.
So I've already lost my mind. I have become fully unhinged, and I think that's the perfect mindset to go into Freaky with, which is a film that I hadn't seen, and I saved it for one of the last episodes, and I did not watch it in advance, so I could watch it for this episode. And I wanted to ask you before we start talking about it, kind of, what is your relationship with Freaky? When did you first watch it?
I love this film. So from what I remember, a couple of years ago when we were all sort of, depressed and locked in our houses.
Couple years ago, she says. couple of years ago.
I mean, when this came out a couple of years ago. And I feel like it was at the height of certainly my depression and being locked in the house. I just kept seeing all over socials from like people in the States that I follow all about Freaky. And it seemed to have been seen by everybody. And there was this kind of frenzy of like sort of FOMO and excitement about like, what is this film? How come all you guys stateside are seeing it? And when the hell are we getting it? Because all of the reception seemed to be really, really positive. And people started talking about like how fun it was. And especially kind of coming off of the back of Happy Death Day. There was real kind of excitement and anticipation, I guess, for it coming over here. And when it finally did, I watched it really like as soon as I could, because I felt like we'd been waiting forever. And I was really, really pleased that it was good, right? Because after all of that kind of build up and positive reception of all of these people that I'd been following, it could have been a real disappointment, and it wasn't. I really loved it. And then I watched it again just earlier this year, just as kind of a rewatch, you know, hoping to myself, you know, will it live up to that first watch? Because sometimes they don't, right? And again, I was so pleasantly surprised. I was like, my God, this really stands up to a second watch. I still thought it was really funny and charming. I was pleasantly surprised that the kills really stood up, and like, they're really kind of, it doesn't hold back on the kills, which I'm really happy about. You know, it really kind of strikes a nice balance between the kills and the humor. And then I watched it a third time for this, and I was very pleased to do so. So yeah, I was really, really chuffed when you asked me to do Freaky. I was like, oh yeah, I'm well up for another rewatch and a chat about this one.
So for anyone who hasn't rewatched it recently, can you summarize Freaky for me very briefly?
Totally. So it's essentially a body swap horror comedy. So you have Millie, who is our kind of central teen. She is quite sort of, she's a bit of a wallflower, but she's got two very good friends, and like she's got a crush on the jock boy. And there is a sort of urban legend of the Blissfield Butcher. And every homecoming year, the kind of urban legend is that he kills a bunch of kids, right? Kills a bunch of teens. And it turns out it's not just an urban legend. The Blissfield Butcher actually exists, and he is killing teens on and around homecoming. So that's kind of how the film opens, is with some very brutal killings by the butcher of these teens. But then it takes a sort of supernatural element, because the teens that he kills at the beginning, one of them lives in this big fancy house, and there is like an antique dagger, like a sort of Mexican sort of ancient dagger, which is imbued with these supernatural powers. So when he stabs Millie, our main girl, with it, they switch bodies. And what then ensues is that the butcher is now in diminutive, blonde, previously wallflower teen Millie, and Millie is in Vince Vaughn, who's a big...
She is in him.
She is in him, and she has a penis now, Anna, that she's fascinated by. And I think she says at one point, I'm a giant, like she's huge and she's strong.
Millie is now a 6'5" man.
Exactly. And it's then the just like ensuing thing that you would expect from body horror and slasher, where, body swap and slasher, where she has to convince people that she is now this 6'5" Vince Vaughn character, while everybody's terrified and running away from her / him because that's what she looks like. And then you get little Millie managing to kind of honey trap jock boys because she's all cute and blonde and sexy, and then kill them in various sort of escalating horrible ways. It's great fun.
It's basically Freaky Friday meets Friday the 13th, right?
Yes, exactly. Freaky Friday the 13th.
Which was, I believe, the working title that they were shooting the film under when they were making it. So you're obviously a fan, but like, how well do you think it blends the teen body swap element? I mean, we should mention the body swap subgenre is very often appears with teenagers body swapping with adults.
Yes.
Like Freaky Friday, 13 going on 30, like the one with Zac Efron and Matthew Perry, I can't remember, 17 going on something. Like a lot of them are teen films. How well do you think this one merges that genre with the slasher?
So I'm much more an expert on the slasher than I am on the teen body swap comedy genre. It's not my area of expertise. But for this, I think that the writing and certainly the two like central performances and the comedy beats are great. And then you get, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like scary horror, but in terms of the sort of Friday the 13th, you're in it for the body count, you're in it for the kind of elaborate deaths and elaborate kills. I think it straddles those two things really well. I think that the comedy is like genuinely funny and charming, and I think that the kills and stuff are well worth tuning in for.
I mean, I was very, very surprised at how gruesome the kills were.
Right?
Like, I don't know why I wasn't expecting it to be as gory, which is also what I thought when I watched Fear Street, like the Netflix 3-part show. I was like, when the first bread slicer kill happened, I was literally clutching my metaphorical purse, going like, oh, I didn't think slashers were doing this anymore.
I didn't think it would go there, but yeah, totally. And then in Fear Street, they kill like the little kid with the glasses, and then all the bodies lined up outside the cabins. And then in the 1666 one, when like she gets her hand chopped off.
Yeah,
I feel like teen slashers have refound that, like rediscovered the gore and the gnarly, and I am fully on board.
Totally. And it, I don't know why it keeps surprising me, because it has been happening quite a lot. It even happens a lot in Happy Death Day. And, you know, which this really shares a tone with, I think. It's sort of funny, but it's also it feels very of a moment. Even though there's nothing that would time it specifically to, you know, 2020 when it came out. Like, it feels like it has been done in the 2020s, if that's even how we're calling this godforsaken decade. Do you know what I mean? Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's something about it being like, it's knowing.
Yes, that's the word, knowing.
But it's not smug, if you know what I mean. Like, sometimes the kind of the more like meta side of horror movies, and especially like horror comedies, it can be enjoyable, but there's too much of that wink wink self-referential stuff for me. Like, it sort of sometimes goes a little bit too far. What I like about Freaky and Happy Death Day is that they're knowing, and there is that wink, there's that sort of cheekiness, but it's not smug, and it still somehow manages to retain the charm. And I think that is a real like testament to the writing.
And do you think I must confess, get at 1 or 2 points in the movie a little bit of an eye rolly vibe. At the
Can you remember when? Like,
yes,
it kind of went too far for you.
And am I gonna get cancelled for this? I don't believe in cancel culture. So what I was gonna ask you was like, did you think that the wokeness worked? Like, did it come from a genuine place, or did it feel forced? Because there was like two beats in particular that felt a little bit forced wokeness to me. And in particular, I wrote one down was when one of the, I think it's in the preamble, when we see the kind of the murder at the really big posh mansion, the murder spree by the butcher. When one of the blonde girls says, "Don't underestimate a straight white man's propensity for violence." I'm like, okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie. You've read a BuzzFeed article. Well done.
So for me, and that is a shame because it's so early on in the film, and I think that has the possibility to really turn somebody off really early. And it's a shame because firstly, it's not a very smart line.
No,
and
it's
secondly,
not.
It doesn't really land. Like the actress doesn't really sell it, I don't think. It doesn't sound like something somebody would say, which it doesn't have to, that can be quite an empty criticism, but for me it doesn't land. She doesn't sell it. The one that I really like, which comes later, which is in the bathroom, is when is it Nyla, the friend, says something like she's got a dick in her hand and you're wearing Chanel No. 5. I think we're past labels. And that made me laugh out loud because she sells it and it sounds like something sassy that somebody would say to their gay best friend,
I will say, I don't think that Josh would wear Chanel No. 5.
What do you think he'd wear?
I think he'd wear Dior. I don't think he'd wear Chanel No. 5. I think that's such a line written by a dude who doesn't know any other sense. It's like perfume equals Chanel No. 5. And I'm like, sweetie, which one? The eau de parfum? The eau de toilette? The eau de parfum intense? The intense one? Because there's an intense one. Which one?
I think
Josh would know.
It's so synonymous with like Marilyn Monroe, and Josh doesn't strike me as a Marilyn Monroe.
He strikes me as a Liza.
Yeah.
He would wear whatever Liza is wearing.
Yeah. Or he'd wear like Poison. Like you say, like
ooh, like, yes. Poison.
Yeah. No, I mean you're right. That's a dude who doesn't know his sense writing that line. But at least within universe, she sold it.
She does sell it. Also, my favorite scene with Nyla is when she's like being essentially forced by Millie's sister, who's a sheriff or in the sheriff's department. I'm only assuming she's a sheriff because they wear the brown uniform as opposed to the blue uniform that cops wear.
She's Jewy, right? I mean,
she's Jewish.
She's like the older cop sibling, so she's Jewy.
Yeah, but she's a competent Jewy.
Oh no, she's great. Yeah, she's great.
When she's like, show me what you're holding, and her phone is in one hand and the like mystical dagger is in the other, and you're like, this is so tense. This is genuinely so tense, and I don't think for the reasons that the filmmakers intended to. But she's also beautifully.
Yeah, she's amazing. I really, really like her. I like her and Josh. I like the kind of relationship between them and Millie. I love the bit when he's like, when Millie in the butcher's body. It's so difficult when you're talking about body swap stuff.
So let's call it Millie in Vince and Vince in Millie. Although now we're getting confused because obviously Vince is the name of the actor. But to be honest, they don't really give the butcher they don't even give him a name.
No, he's literally credited as the butcher.
Yeah, so we can call him Vince.
Cool, let's call him Vince. I think that's better. And then Millie is played by Catherine Newton, and I think superbly, to be honest. She is so good. Well, the reason I say that is because for me, she plays the silence, because it's really clever when they first swap bodies. And obviously he is like a loner. He's got a proper serial killer's lair. He obviously isn't really talking to many people. And so what you get when he wakes up in the teen blonde's body is just this silence. And it's cleverly done because mum and sister think that Millie's being silent because she's like traumatized from the attack, right? But actually it's because the butcher wouldn't really be talking to anybody. And then what you get is Millie in Vince's body. She can't shut up. So because she's a teenage girl, she's just like yammering on, and you get that really funny like first encounter with that like druggy guy in the butcher's sort of serial killer lair who is trying to get drugs off of him, and she's like, oh no, like I'm not really a drug person, what do I look like, do I look like a teenage girl? And he's like, you are on drugs, I want to feel like a teenage girl. Like all of that I think really is very funny. But I think that Catherine Newton is very good at just that, like the glare, the silence. And then when she is basically playing when she's basically playing the butcher, playing Millie.
Yeah.
So later when she's like trying to convince, is it Booker? Like the jock boy. And she's like playing the butcher, playing a teenage girl. So she's just like really pouty and whiny and like, Booker! And it just, that again, that kills me. I think she's really good. And so I think that kind of, for me, like sells it in terms of the body swap stuff.
I really agree with you on the bit, especially when it's Catherine playing the butcher in Millie's body. That kind of hyper performative teen girl nonsense just is very funny. But I gotta admit, like, I really like what you're saying. It didn't quite sell it for me.
Okay.
In the same way. And I think it's a very obvious comparison. I kept thinking about Freaky Friday and kind of Jamie Lee and Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan. Lohan.
Lohan. Oh,
yeah, apparently.
Lohan.
No, apparently we've all been pronouncing her surname wrong our entire lives. Yeah, because she's got a podcast now, and it comes up as ads on a few podcasts that I listen to, and she just says it, and then she said in an interview, it's like, yeah, everyone's always pronounced it wrong. It's Lohan. I'm like, mind fucking blown.
Sorry, Lindsay.
Sorry, Linz.
Also, as another aside, and this is a bit of an admission, I've never seen Freaky Friday.
You have to see Freaky Friday. If only for Jamie Lee Curtis playing a teenage girl so damn well. Just having the best fun. And, you know, I'll come to that comparison again when we talk about Vince Vaughn's performance. But I think, like, it's always just... It's difficult for the younger performer to stand out because their role is necessarily less fun to play. Because, like, Catherine Newton has to be aggressive and scary and kind of silent. And the best moments for me is when she's sort of surprised that she's not terrifying to people because she's a petite teenage blonde girl as opposed to a 6'5", very creepy looking man. And that really worked. And that really worked for me. But it's not as fun as a grown ass 6'5" man playing a teenage, playing a teenage girl. So and it's like, I think it's slightly, you know, I don't want to be very harsh on Catherine because she's obviously great. And I'm like, same as with Lindsay playing her mom in Freaky Friday. It's just a less fun role for a teen performer to play an adult.
Yeah. And I think what works especially well in this, and I know that I haven't seen Freaky Friday, but, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis is still a woman and she's not, you know, 6'5". The physicality in this is so good. Yes. Like when she is sort of running into trees and when she... because she's huge and she's not used to like being that big and, you know, on that sort of level with her surroundings. That all works really well. Like his physical comedy is very funny. And the way when he like runs around and stuff, like, and he keeps screaming as well because again, like teenage girl, and so he keeps screaming. It's very, very well done, I think.
So let's talk about Vince Vaughn in particular. Also, I just looked it up. Catherine Newton is 5'5", Vince Vaughn is 6'5". That is a whole foot of difference.
A whole
ass foot. So what did you think of Vince as Vince Vaughn, the serial killer?
I think he's scary. Like, firstly, the mask that they put him in is really like creepy. It's like somewhere between like Jason and, I don't know, like the sack boy out of the orphanage. No, yeah, the orphanage. Like, there's something kind of folk horror-y about it, but at the same time, it's very much like, it looks like it's kind of a hockey mask at the same time. So again, that like Friday the 13th thing. I think and again, I think the brutality of the kills goes some way, which does then, you know, translate over into when the butcher is in Millie's body. Like the murder of Alan Ruck. Anna.
Oh my God, I was going to ask you about that later, but let's talk about it now.
I know, I'm sorry that I'm jumping ahead, but it's so good.
It's so good. And I can't not see Alan Ruck as Connor Roy anymore.
Right,
So it was like Connor's getting brutally murdered.
I feel like Alan Ruck is in everything as well.
Do
like,
you?
Yeah, like I feel like I've really grown up with Alan Ruck. And he's in a lot of stuff now. Like, he was in the Exorcist series. He was great in that.
Oh, I haven't seen the series.
Ooh,
Is it good?
Anna.
Is it good?
It's really good.
Oh,
It makes me angry that we're getting a new Exorcist film instead of a third series of the Exorcist show.
Oh.
It's good. Like the first
Okay.
season specifically. Gina Davis is in it and she is phenomenal.
Wait, how did I sleep on this?
Right, Anna, it's on Amazon Prime.
Holy shit.
Treat yourself. It's really great. Alan Ruck's in that. And obviously Connor Roy. And he's in this as what I kind of think of, because I think of Alan Ruck as like a pretty big star, like character actor, obviously, but he just, to me, it feels like he's in everything. And he's such a bit part in this, right? He's just like the woodwork teacher or whatever, and he's a total dick in it. He's really condescending and unnecessarily aggressive towards Millie. And when you see him get his comeuppance in the most like extreme way, where like I always love it when something that somebody uses kind of on a daily basis, like a kind of everyday tool, is like used against them. And he is cut literally like in half vertically by a bench saw. And you see it, like you see it.
You also see it from the point of view of the saw, I
Of the
think.
saw?
So you kind of see the body coming towards you and splitting in half, which is a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
It's a great choice. It's a great choice.
Your face right now. I feel like you don't like Alan Ruck very much.
I love Alan Ruck, but I don't like Mr. Bernardini or whatever the fuck his name is.
He's like,
I'm
he's
glad when he gets it.
Yeah, he's the only point of nastiness in this film, because even the butcher isn't like, we don't get that much information about him. He's just like a serial killer. He's just a serial killer. He just murders people. You don't even know his name. You don't know his motivation. There's nothing about him that we get to know. And Alan Ruck's like whatever professor, what the fuck he's teaching. He's asking people to make dioramas, and he's teaching in the locker rooms, it seems. I don't know. He's so nasty, because when he gets into a tizzy with Vince in Millie, when she attacks him, then he overpowers her. Again, a whole ass foot taller than her and bigger. He then like kicks her a couple times in the stomach just because he really wants to.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's like
nasty. He's been wanting to do that, right? Yeah. Yeah. I'm very, very pleased when he gets gets what's coming to him, you know?
I know. And also because she does sort of stab him and, you know, disempower him, but then takes the extra, gets a little bit extra and just slices him in half for the fun of it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because she like gets him in the neck or something first,
Yeah.
doesn't she? And he kind of falls back onto like the saw table
Yeah.
in a very sort of like James Bond-esque type way. Like,
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, head first, just straight out the middle.
Oh, that beautiful head of hair as well. What a shame.
I know.
What a shame. Yeah, Cameron did not age to be a nice person in this film.
No. Oh, Cameron.
I always, my favorite is always Cameron, never Ferris.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Like he's just like Cameron was me. Like I wasn't the one fucking going into the city and singing on parade floats. I was like the one who was racked by anxiety and like couldn't get out of bed. So yeah, totally.
I mean, that conversation that he has by himself in his dad's car.
Oh,
It's me every morning.
yeah. Every morning.
It's like, I don't want to. Fuck this. But you gotta.
Yep. This is how we start the day.
So back to Vince. What do you we've spoken about Catherine, we've spoken about Millie, but what do you think of Vince and his performance? Because like I mentioned before, he gets to have a lot of fun playing a teenage girl.
So much fun. Yeah, he's he's running around like he's a little bit sort of mincy and flappy. He screams a lot. He gets to, you know, do some like pretty kind of physical stuff, like, you know, fighting that scene when he's fighting the friends in the like, I don't know, school like cafeteria, or I guess they seem to be fighting with like ladles and kind of metal trays and things. But he gets to sort of like do a bit of like cheerleading. And then like there's the kiss with Booker in the car, which always like, it's funny, but it's really like tender and sweet and not at all kind of, I don't know, it doesn't feel that it's played kind of gratuitously. Like it feels like it's like the movie is treating it really seriously. And there is something that like moment, and it, you know, it's to the guy who plays Booker as well, the young actor who plays Booker, to their credit, because they are playing it completely straight, I can see through Vince to Millie, right? And I think that is really impressive. Like, again, you know, as you say, there's a foot between them. Vince Vaughn is this very blokey man, right? And sort of even going back to, you know, other films that he's done in his career, he's a bit of a lad, isn't he? Like, he's done like Wedding Crashers.
I mean, he's swingers.
He's
the money dude. He's money.
He's money. And so to be able to then play a role where you can see through all of that sort of blokey bravado to this very sort of sweet and tender moment where he's like basically like reading poetry to this like boy crush, and then they have this sort of real sort of moment in the back of the car, and then it's broken and it's like, actually, you know, this totally isn't going to work, let's wait until I swap back and things. But yeah, I think Vince Vaughn is genuinely really good as the Butcher, and as especially as Millie, because as you say, the Butcher doesn't have a lot to do, right? He doesn't have a backstory. He doesn't even really have a name or motivation or much of an identity. He's just kind of a blank-faced killer, especially considering like when we see him as the Butcher, he's got that sort of like freaky mask on for some of it. So it's when you've got Vince in Millie that he gets to kind of do the most and have the most fun. And yeah, I really like it.
I think you're very right in pointing out kind of that Vince Vaughn, his sense of humor, like he's done a lot of comedy. That's how he exploded. That's how he became a star. I know he's done like a few grittier roles in the latter part of his career.
It's like Brawling
Oh
Cell
my God. Brawling Cell Block 99. That is one of the most disgustingly violent movies I've ever seen. I saw that in the cinema at LFF.
Whoa.
Holy shit. Then he did another, there's like a scene where I've never seen anyone bear punch that many men to death as Vince Vaughn does in that movie. It is hyper violent.
And he's like bulky and he's a skinhead, and he even in the poster I feel like he's got a massive like black eye, and he's sort of covered in, he's got like a split lip. I remember that feeling like a departure for him.
Yeah, and then he did another film with that same director called Dragged Across Concrete, which I didn't see, and that one's with Mel Gibson.
This is the what's the oh, for fuck's sake, the like no, I can't remember. The like Western one. The one.
Bone Tomahawk.
So it's the same
director,
right?
same director. Yeah, it's Craig Zeller. Stephen Craig Zeller. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But like before that, we know, and he was a star, he was Vince Vaughn because of Swingers, because of The Breakup, because of The Wedding Crashers, like his sort of brand of on-screen comedy. When he's funny because he's kind of a lad, like you say, and he's kind of got that macho, douchey sense of humor. And he's very good at it. He's very witty by all accounts, but like here, I'm surprised at the fact that he kind of does a light touch comedy and does the whole teenage girl performance in a kind of a sweet way. Like you say, it doesn't really feel like he's mocking the teenage girl mannerisms in the same way. And, not to compare, but, I mean, Jamie Lee could do no wrong in my book, but she truly is so good in Freaky Friday. Like the way she performs a much more brattier, much more contrarian and kind of independent type of teenager versus Millie, who's much more soft-spoken and kind of wallflowery, like you said, and has her two friends. Lindsay's character in Freaky Friday like is in a punk band, and
oh my god, I've definitely seen the clips of that. 100%, I've seen the clips. I
cannot believe you haven't seen this film.
I know. And do you know what the thing is? I love Jamie Lee Curtis as a comedy actress as well. Like Fish Called Wanda is one of my favorite ever films.
Oh my god,
I love her in Trading Places.
First role I ever saw her in.
She's incredible. Yeah, probably the first role I ever saw her in, actually, as well. Maybe Fish Called Wanda and Trading Places. I probably saw them around the same time. Like True Lies, she is amazing in. So yeah, it's daft that I haven't seen Freaky Friday.
Oh my god,
maybe I need to bump it to the top of my list.
I smell another sleepover, Becky Dark.
Yeah,
it's happening. It's happening.
Okay, I'm into it. Actually, Dave is doing another cycle ride, so let's make it happen.
It's happening. It's happening.
Great.
Yep. I owe you a pizza. But going back to Vince, we're talking about Vince and Millie and very lightly touched on the friends, but what do you think of the supporting characters? We've got Brooker, we've got Josh, we've got Nyla as kind of her two besties who believe her after a very extended, very funny fight.
And then actually that is one of my favorite Vince Vaughn as Millie moments when they ask him who the crush is, like who's your number one crush, and she says Booker Hooker, and then he giggles and she's like he, and like that's really cute, and you're like, yeah, no, I get it, I get like what you're doing here. And again, it's just like he's really trying hard to kind of embody those mannerisms without, like as you say, like mocking a teenage girl, which I think is very cute. I really like the supporting cast. I don't think they do anything particularly special. I like the way they're written, the sort of one-liners and stuff are good. I think that actually one of my favorite scenes in the film is when Josh is kind of babysitting.
Yes.
And he's got her tied up.
And the mom shows up.
And then mum comes home.
Yes.
She's like, because I think she's an air stewardess.
Yes.
And so like she's like caught an earlier flight or something. So
she's been serving peanuts all day. As she says.
She's got like no time for any of his fucking nonsense, any of his teen boy nonsense. And you get this great scene, which I really love, where he's like, oh yeah, we're doing role play. And she's like, isn't role play a sex thing? And both, like, she and then Millie, but are both like, yeah. Like, why have you said role play? You get like the butcher through Millie being like, you are not, this is not working. You are a bad liar. This is stupid. He's obviously exasperated, like almost for the mum. Like this lying isn't working. Do better. And then he says like, I don't know how to tell you this, mum. I'm straight. And then you get this beautiful moment where she's like, you are many things, but straight isn't one of them. Now untie her. Like, it's great. Like, I love that whole scene.
My favorite part of that scene is it's just a one shot of a picture, a photograph that they have where the two actors who play Josh and his mom are like in a sort of mom and son fancy dress together against one of those sort of photographer studio backgrounds. I'm like, this is giving me big Arrested Development vibes. This is Lucille and Buster.
They obviously have a very special relationship that would be unusual for a straight son and his mum to have in terms of their activities together. Yeah, it's very, very funny. So yeah, I mean, like I say, I think the supporting cast is good. I like the relationship between so Millie and her sister and her mum. You know, they've lost the dad, and this sort of like roots it in. She's got this very kind of almost like codependent relationship with her mum that means that this is sort of almost what's like causing Millie's wallflowerness. And I think a lot of the film is sort of looking at, you know, she's got this like strength inside of her. She's got this sexiness inside of her, but like she isn't kind of using it. She isn't harnessing it because she's being held back. Like she's thinking about not going to the homecoming dance because she's going to go and see Wicked with her mum. And her friends, you know, Nyla and Josh, obviously see this in her, and Booker does as well. And so, you know, you get that sort of interesting dynamic with her mum who like drinks too much, and actually that is kind of what puts Millie in the path of the butcher in the first place, because mum is supposed to have picked her up after the game and she doesn't because she's like passed out on the sofa. And so then you get that interesting relationship between Millie and her sister, I think it's Char, the sheriff, where she's almost like picking up that kind of responsibility because like she's a cop and she's the older sister, and mum like isn't doing it. So yeah, I mean, I think again, like it's, you know, it's nothing that's going to set the world alight, but it's all fine. I like it.
So tell me before we wrap up, if you were to body swap with someone, who would you body swap with? In a mystical, murdery, freaky...
Fox Mulder.
Okay, that turns out a lot. Okay, the character or David Duchovny?
Fox Mulder.
Okay.
Because then I could hang out with Dana Scully all day.
And you could wear those teeny tiny red Speedos that he wears in that one episode.
I could, yeah. And also I'd just like be Fox Mulder, and he's really hot. So I could just like look in the mirror all day and be like, I'm really hot. But then I could also hang out with Dana Scully, who's also really hot. And then I'd just genuinely have like cool adventures with like aliens and like fluke monsters and like spies and shit. But then there'd be like undeniable sexual tension in every moment of my professional life. And I just like, I really love sexual tension, I really love redheads, and I really love spooky shit. So I'd like to be Fox Mulder, please.
I mean, I don't think you'd want to body swap back. You'd be like, no, I'm good.
I'd be like, do you know what?
No.
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I'd miss my husband and everything. Of course I would. But I feel like Fox Mulder would take good care of Dave for me.
I think they'd have a lovely time together.
They'd have a lovely time. They're like both super nerdy. He'd keep Dave in sunflower seeds and like conspiracy theories. I think it's an arrangement that works for everybody involved.
And you just get to have like sexual tension with every single person you interact with, which is what happens with Fox Mulder in every single episode of The X-Files.
Everyone. And I get to wear a cool trench coat. It's the 90s. Yeah, I mean, there is nothing about this situation that I'm
nothing that doesn't work for you. I'm into it. I'm into it.
I've never been asked that question. I've never thought about that before, but the moment you asked, the answer was just clear in front of me, like it had been there the whole time.
Into it. I would watch this movie.
Who would you body swap with, please?
I have also never been asked that question and never thought about it, but I don't. The first person who comes to my mind is Lee Pace. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm still traumatized by Jordan telling me that there are people in the world who think Lee Pace is not hot, and I'm just flabbergasted by this. And also because I really fancy being like a 6'7" man. Like if I'm gonna body swap with a man, I'd be like, I want to be giant.
Yeah,
giant,
like Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, but taller.
More, even bigger.
Also, Lee Pace has, like, Lee Pace, the actor, none of his characters, has this sort of enormous, like, hippie fuckboy energy, which I'm kind of into. He will just be wandering around the world with his shirt half open and wearing sport shorts, unironically. And I'm like, and like long hair that always looks like it's just dried out of the shower, and at the same time been professionally blow dried with like sea salt spray and shit.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
like I want that.
I feel like Lee Pace and his stylist, his hairstylist, are holding up like 50% of the world's sea salt spray. Like he is doing work for that industry. Bumble and Bumble are definitely like their stock options are high because of Lee Pace.
I just think
is he a himbo? Would we call him a himbo?
No, I think he's too savvy to be a himbo. Okay, and I think he's one of the few actors that I can think of that can pull off being like smart and smarmy in a kind of Don Draper type way. And also himbo-esque. He does have, you know, him in Halt and Catch Fire. And then a very sweet, naive, like virginal type vibe in Pushing Daisies. And then this like dirty hippie fuckboy energy that he has as kind of a weird, he doesn't really have a massive public persona, but that's the public persona is associated with every single picture he posts on Twitter. I'm like, damn. Like, come on. Which Lee Pace am I going to get today? Is it going to be Don Draper? Is it going to be dirty hippie?
The thing that I do love about him is he 100% knows what he's doing. He
100%.
knows what he's doing.
And you know what? I'm so happy for him.
I respect him.
He's doing the Lord's work and he's keeping us all thirsty, but also satiated. Like, I don't know if that's a word or if I'm just like,
quenched. Thirsty and quenched.
Yes, that is the word. He's keeping us thirsty and quenched. And we thank you for your service, Mr. Pace.
And you know what, Anna? If there is anybody that if they were transported into Lee Pace's body who could carry that mantle and continue keeping the world thirsty and quenched, it's you.
That is the sweetest thing you've ever said to me. I appreciate it so deeply.
I mean every word.
Do you think I could pull off Don Draper and dirty, slutty, hippie energy at the same time?
Fuck yes! Fuck yes.
Becky.
I mean, honestly, I can't believe you're even questioning yourself. You know this, of course.
I mean, I can pull off a suit. I do know this.
But a suit with shorts, please. Like shorts.
Oh my God. Like Kristen Stewart.
Oh,
Case2 has the same. Case2 and Lee Pace have the same energy.
Big time.
They
and
do,
the same
don't they?
Wardrobe, just in very different sizes.
They should be in a movie together.
They should do a body swap movie.
I mean, no, they should just do an erotic movie together.
Yeah, no, they should. Yeah.
Also, they both have like big bisexual energy, and I'm very into it.
100%.
Yes.
I still haven't seen Crimes of the Future, and it's making my heart sad.
Well, you're in luck because it's screening in September. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so excited.
Oh, I want to go see it all over again because I saw it way too late at Cannes.
Let's go and see it together.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So Becky, this was a
freaky.
This was a wonderful detour, but freaky. Do you think? Well, I do have one last question for you about Freaky. Do you think Freaky, which was a success with critics, it had like that buzz? People were talking about it. I kept seeing it everywhere, even though I missed it in that first kind of run. It never really got released theatrically widely, but it made a lot of money back. It had like a 6 million budget, and it made back like 16.2 million. So like it did very well.
I'm happy to hear that.
Do you think it was part of a sort of like people wanting to go see that type of fun, gory, teen slashery movie? Do you think it was part of a like little moment? That and Happy Death Day and a few others that were coming out around the same time. Fear Street coming out the following year.
Yeah, and then leading into Scream 5. Yeah, I mean, yes. So if they made, so Happy Death Day, and then they did Happy Death Day to You, which was shit. I really didn't like it, and a lot of people didn't like it. I really liked the first one. I didn't like the second one. I would watch Freaky 2 and just cross everything that they didn't do a Happy Death Day to You and actually like nailed the sequel. Because I would fully watch Millie in some other, I don't know how they do it, but that's why I'm not a screenwriter. But I would definitely come back like for this universe, you know, somehow something happens. I would spend more time with her character, definitely, and the friends, and see kind of, you know, what they're up to now. I hope her mum sorted herself out. I hope that Char has got herself some sort of butch lover. And I assume that Millie and Booker are now, you know, madly in love, and, you know, the kind of it couple at school, Josh and Nyla. Hopefully Josh has found some more kind of love interest than the gay postman who is the only person on like Grindr in their town or whatever. I just want all of them to be living fulfilled lives, and then for something really awful to happen to all of them, and, you know, for the horror to come, and to see some more fucking terrifying disgusting deaths, like the bottle, the tennis racket. I'm a huge fan of the tennis racket. It reminds me of, you know, those amazing like joke shop things with the arrow where you like put the headband on and it looks like the arrow's coming through your head. Like it's like that, but with the tennis racket, for real. Big fan. I would definitely watch more antics of like this group, and more horrible kills. I think it probably was a bit of a moment, but I would like to see, you know, if they could continue doing like fresh stuff. So what have they done? They've done like the Groundhog Day, but it's a slasher.
Yes.
And they've done like Freaky Friday, but it's a slasher.
Yes.
So they just basically need to come up with like another kind of comedy trope or comedy sort of subgenre, and add it to a slasher. So they just need to figure out what the next one of those is. And if they figure that out, I'll be there. Let's
do like an Ocean's 11, but it's a slasher. That would be cute.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Let's do a oh my god. Let's do a Trading Places, but it's a slasher.
Yes.
2 serial killers just trade masks.
I love that. So you could you could have like one traditional serial killer who is like a teen slasher, right? So that their MO is that they go to a camp and they kill. That's what they usually do. And then you've got more of a kind of Hannibal Lecter sort of sort of psychological, you know, he's maybe a professor or something and he likes to, you know, and they need to swap. So you get like Hannibal Lecter going on a kill crazy rampage in a camp, and then the like Jason Voorhees character like having to kind of think his way through things and like host like therapy sessions with weirdos.
Let's analyze this, but with teen slashers.
Yeah!
The minute you said therapy, I was like, what is that? I've been trying to think, what is that therapy movie with Robert De Niro? Analyze this. Analyze this. Slash this.
Yeah. I mean, I love this idea. I like it. Like, I like the kind of the premise of taking these other subgenres of comedies and then just sticking a load of brutal kills in them. So, yeah, like I say, whenever they come up with the next one, I'll be there.
Notting Hill, but make it a teen slasher.
4 weddings and a funeral.
4 funerals and a wedding?
Yes! Oh my God, she's done it. Right, she's done it.
Working title, DM me.
Let's bring this brainstorm to a close because there ain't no idea getting better than that one. 4 funerals and a wedding. Yes, please.
Becky, thank you so much. A joy, as always, to podcast with you.
Thank you.
What are you up to now? Where can people find more of your work online if they're not subscribed to your podcast, your projects yet?
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for having me on to chat about this really fun film. I always love talking to you, Anna. Where am I? I'm on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Bunny Dark. Twitter's always the best place to find me. I post all of my stuff there. You can find me at the Genesis Cinema a fair bit. I'm down there with Mike Munzer from the Evolution of Horror doing screenings now and again. So we do them sort of every 4 to 6 weeks. So the Genesis in Mile End, it's an amazing cinema. And even if you don't come down for one of our things, come down anyway. I'm often there just seeing, I'll probably be down there seeing Crimes of the Future. And I've got a Patreon, which is patreon.com/BunnyDark. And you can just come over if you like my podcasting and bits and pieces. Come and chuck me a few pennies. I'll be very grateful. And I'm hoping to start putting out some more kind of monthly content. I'm going to start doing like audio versions of some of my essays and stuff like that. So yeah, but you can't move without bumping into me. Basically, I'm everywhere.
Thank you so much, darling.
Thanks, Anna.